That is not working.
Yes, you are on the agenda. Okay. Very good. Sure, we can see.
Administration Committee meeting to order. We'll call the public. The general comments want to address to the committee? None? Then we'll move on to our first item, which is a presentation by Interim Chief Executive Officer Kristen Wenzel of Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And I know we have several people here.
Entourage.
You're welcome to join us at the table.
We can grab more chairs if you.
I can move down too.
Yeah. You'd like to come on up?
I bring handouts.
Ooh, you need help handing them out? I'll help you out if you'd like.
This is an addendum.
Sign of a good discussion.
Follow you around.
It's really taking up so much space.
I should have, I didn't think about the people online. I didn't share this, but we can share it as a follow-up.
Absolutely,
Eric,
yes,
you've got one?
absolutely.
Thank you.
So I'll give you, if it makes you feel better, the folks online are for other agenda items, so.
Okay, all right. Do I? Okay.
Well, it's better than the one in here, right? Well, this one.
I mean, it's.
Yeah. No, it's good. Just gotta look at it a little bit, yeah. It's hard to see, squeeze out, a little bit. It'll make sense if you start putting in the. It's hard to follow.
Yes.
We'll just make sure we voice that. Answer that.
Thank you.
You wanna come up here, Kathleen? Now it's you. We all love you.
Everybody.
She's guarding the door. So,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you. I'm Kristen Wenzel, Interim Chief Executive Officer with Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And I want to introduce Ray Ogden, our Chief Administrative Officer. He's the one that keeps us out of trouble financially. And from a monitoring standpoint to make sure we maintain compliance. Also in attendance is Eric Rodriguez, whom you all know. He is our Workforce Development Board Chair. And Vaughn Begic he is our Consortium Board Chair, which Nicole and Chris serve on as well. And then you know Jim McBride and Katie Mora from Middle Michigan Development. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning and want to share with you the information that prompted us to request the initial conversation with Nicole that's led us to today and asking formally for you to consider serving as a fiscal agent. So first two pages are just cover pages. And then if we go to the fiscal analysis page, what we intend to share with you are fiscal, our expenses and how they've increased over the last 11 years. What our current expenses are, the impact on staffing level and our operations, comparing costs of retiree pension and healthcare, what changing the fiscal agent impact would be on our operations, and then a request for official support. So this this next slide is a little bit hard to read, which is why I gave it to you in a slightly larger format.
It happens.
It's okay.
They had a little switcheroo on the room, so
Oh.
everybody wants to quilt in here today, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But we've got to be doing this.
Okay. So I wanted to have this to be our foundational document for what this conversation centers around and what we want to share on this page is basically that legacy costs as a percent of our total budget have increased 36% over 2012 numbers. And in that same time period, the dollar amount has almost doubled while losing 3.7 full-time employees during that same time period.
And I just want to make sure we're on the same page. By legacy costs, you're talking about pension liability and retiree health care.
Correct,
These are the two legacy costs we're talking about.
yes. You've seen this before.
It's very.
I don't want to.
Foundational to us.
So this is the basis document for what the subsequent slides are going to support. I don't want to rush you. I want to give you an opportunity to look at it, but we go into it explaining things in more detail as we move along in the presentation.
It'll be fine.
And Chairman, obviously, everyone at this table except for you, very aware of where this entire document, and what's laid out in it. So don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions,
Yes,
because again, you and I pretty much are going to be the liaisons to the rest of the board to relay the information about why they're making this request and why it would benefit Isabella County to move forward with
right.
authorizing. Okay.
So if we move on to the next slide in the presentation, which talks about expense increase over the last 11 years. This chart compares the total legacy cost as a percentage of our approved administration budget, which is what funds our staffing level at the administration level. And you can see the creep of how much of our budget is dedicated to legacy costs.
You have an appreciation in Isabella County for the challenges that we
Yes.
face with.
Yes.
That's understatement.
And this particular slide includes both the direct costs of retirees and the indirect charges. Those are in the blue and the tan. Yep. And then if we go to the next page, you will also see that broken down in the bar chart area is the portion of pension, retiree health care insurance, county indirect costs, and then a county computer use fee. It's this slide right here. No, I think you went one too many.
One too many. There we go.
Yep. And the largest, this breaks down what the categories are of the legacy costs and their percentage, their cumulative percentage of the total administration budget. The largest shares are pension and indirect charges that are assessed to Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works by Saginaw County. We expect, based on conversations that have happened to this point with Nicole and her team and Commissioner Embry, that if we were to move to Isabella County, the pension costs would be significantly reduced. Sure.
Jerry, take a look at this tan section,
Mhm.
each one of those bar graphs. Notice how it continues to grow. Even as you move into 21, 22, 23, the others are decreasing, but those are staying the same, if not getting a little larger. So I think you look at that and just in terms of the amount of cost that's being charged to Great Lakes Bay, even though, again, some of these expenses are coming down, they're still, their methodology for determining how much they're charging Great Lakes Bay, county indirect costs,
Mhm.
they're staying very high. But
They charge it on a average of all employees of Saginaw County as a percentage to each department. It's not an apple to apple.
Yeah, so here in Isabella County, we take that pension liability right down to the individual person. Whether they're still working here, whether they've already retired, whether they've left us and they're waiting to draw. We take it down to the individual person and apply it to the last department that they worked for. That's where that legacy cost gets billed. And because we do it for each individual person, there's not this misrepresented percentage that gets put onto
To the
any
index.
one group. If we took our total liability and spread it across all current departments, all employees, it's a legitimate way to do business. Saginaw
No.
County's not doing anything wrong.
No.
That's just their methodology is hurting Great Lakes Bay.
Yep.
To the point of it's not an amount they can cover in their budget for the legacy costs being charged to them. We met with MERS and we took it down to the individual, and specifically, I think it was going from, I want to say $400,000 a year pension liability down to $80,000.
It
It
was
was
si-
like
it was
the
a
normal,
significant-
that would be the
yeah.
norm.
Using that year's numbers, yeah, that's what it would have. It was a significant amount of savings that would be realized if we would be able to successfully make that transition.
So the way I look at it is this. Because of their methodology in determining these indirect charges to Great Lakes Bay, what that's done is cause them a financial hardship to the point where they've had to could not rehire or replace people that you have or add additional staff to provide the necessary services that they're expected to
Provide based on,
provide for people.
based on our federal funding
Correct.
requirements.
So to me, that just doesn't seem right. I mean, we have this great program, this is a Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works program. It's such a great program, but they can't provide the necessary services because they're understaffed because of this situation.
Okay,
So,
understood.
And the savings that she's talking about and Kristen referenced, it goes back to those job seekers in the region, the Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, and to the employers. So it goes directly back to help the impact.
Providing
Providing
services
services
Yeah.
for.
to the people that we receive funding
Yeah.
to support.
I think the other thing to point out is, you know, obviously this very detailed sheet shows you those dollars and you're looking at that, staring into those, but reflective of these percentages, you can see, you know, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for that budget, which equates to that 35%. So it is a significant savings as well.
And as you're very familiar with, the indirect costs that the county, Isabella County charges to certain departments, certain funds, is all figured by our annual cost allocation plan that we're charged to do. MDHHS makes us do that because of the front of the court dollars that we maintain. So we do that study to see what piece of our pie is front of the court. And that means we get to know the whole pie. And so the same folks that do the cost allocation plan for you do it for us. And so it's kind of easy for us to determine what that might be. It's determined annually by an outside third party.
Got a question. How is your funding for your pension and your OPEB? Are you pretty well funded?
We are at 72-73% right now, so not as funded as we'd like to be, but certainly not in a dire.
It's not
That's
bad.
not bad, stay away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Once you get in the 60s or lower, then you start to get.
But then there's some help available to you too, right?
And then we don't
At that
provide
point.
retiree healthcare.
We have zero. We have almost zero retiree healthcare. We do have the
Oh, wait,
command
command.
officers group.
Drink.
Anyone who retires out of the current contract gets a whopping $1,000 a year towards retiree healthcare. So that OPEB responsibility is almost nothing.
You're in good shape.
Yeah,
They
as
come
far as
too.
retiree healthcare, yeah.
But I
You're
would say
fine.
Saginaw has not been in a good position and it has been sort of, we think, cut the money out of us. So, yeah, which is not good.
Okay,
Okay.
so moving on to the next slide. What's important to take away from this slide is the top line, so the blue line. Our expenses per FTE assessed by Saginaw County have increased over the base year of 2012, over 250%. Not affordable or sustainable for us. That's the takeaway we want from this slide.
I'm surprised that they haven't been willing to work with you and they just wanted to be across the board equal.
We,
So that all their functions.
That's their methodology.
yep,
right?
that's their
It's
methodology.
allowable and it works
It's
for them.
allowable, so they were not willing to.
if there's-
Yeah, for them to make a change for our department, they would have to make a change for all
For all,
departments, and that's just not something that they've been willing to consider at this, up to this point. So, this slide represents what this fiscal year's, legacy costs are. And it includes employee pension, retiree healthcare, and indirect costs, which is 30% of our budget. The 30% cost is a slight decrease from the previous year. If you look back on the, shall we say, our master spreadsheet here. Due to the elimination of 2.75 full-time equivalent employees that we were forced to make last year about this time in order to
Balance your budget.
in order to balance our budget.
I remember
Exactly.
that difficult vote.
Yep.
I remember that being very difficult.
Mhm. Yeah. So going on to the next slide, this really shares with you graphically what the impact on our staffing levels and operations would be, to the point that you made earlier, that the costs have continued to increase, even though we have cut employees, and that's represented in the 2022 and 2023, where you see the line chart meet the bar graph. That shows the impact. And it's important to note that even with the reduction of full-time equivalents, the Saginaw County charges continue to climb. So I also want to point out that in fiscal year 21, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works operated 28 programs. For the program year ending this September of 2023, we operated 34 funded programs. Many of which are funded by 2 or more funding streams. So we're increasing our work while reducing our staff, and that's not sustainable either.
It's nearly 15 to 11.
Right,
That's almost
Right.
40%.
right,
While continuing to increase programming. And
Right.
Base programming and your cost you had to pay out to the county
right.
increasing substantially.
So the savings realized as a result of changing fiscal agents would really boil down to how pension and healthcare charges are assessed to Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And those savings would allow us to right size our staffing levels for what our operational needs require.
I think it's important to note that the funding sources that Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works has now are covering these legitimate costs from the fiduciary. There's no concern from me that going forward, your funding units would cover lesser charges from Isabella County. I'm not concerned of them covering any cost that Isabella County bears.
And to add to that, I also want to make sure that it's understood that we carry our own freight. So we come and we cover all our expenses. That our funding streams, we're not asking you to do anything that our funding streams don't allow us to do. Making a more affordable business decision for Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works just allows us to do it more cost effectively and increase services.
Okay.
And this next slide just reemphasizes what I just said. It reduces the strain on the current staff, increases services to employers and job seekers, and will allow us to make sure that the quality of the services and programs that we offer doesn't suffer.
I think it's a win all the way around because we talked before, the primary objective is to serve those who need these services. That's a primary objective of all this. That's been my motivation in this. And if we have the necessary staffing at Great Lakes Bay, we can do that. Right now, we strongly feel that without making this change, the quality of the service that's provided will continue to decrease. I mean, I purposely believe that.
Sustainable, correct.
It's unsustainable. It really is. And I think this is going to put additional stress on the staff that you currently have. And I think we need to get the staffing level back to where it needs to be to provide the adequate service. So for those who need the services that you provide, that'll be a win for them because they're going to get better attention and more effective and efficient results.
Yes.
Okay, so they win, you win because you're gonna have the staff you need to do the job that you were expected to do, to get the grants for. We win as a county because again, we are going to receive those indirect costs directly to us. And fourthly, there's no additional cost to the county. Let's say, as an example, the MRF, where we have to keep pumping money into it. That's not the case here. Like you said, they come to take care of themselves. Financially, they're stable to where we're not gonna have to pitch in. So that's a win for us. And then two, I think it's important that we as a county, I think it's a real plus for us to step up and step into this so that we're showing to the folks that live here in this region that we're willing to take this on so that we can provide better service to our constituents.
Okay. One question I have is, with the additional workload, do we have the capacity to absorb that right now without having to go with additional staff or?
I think we do. I think we do. And we've been talking about that, you know, as we go, as we've been talking about maybe taking on this fiduciary role. We're talking about a dozen new employees. So that's another benefit I would add, that these folks actually get to become Isabella County employees under our umbrella, and they'll get to wear this badge. It's important to me, just working with these two. I don't so much know the other 9 in your organization right now so much, but these two individuals right here bring a heck of a resource to Isabella County. Just the brain power, the knowledge base, the experience, the professionalism. It's been a joy for me just to interact with them, and to have them under our umbrella, I think would be fantastic. So we're talking about a dozen, right? In the last payroll, we had just under 280 some probably employees. 12 more does not upset the payroll cart. It doesn't upset the HR cart. It doesn't upset the accounts payable cart. Yes, there's going to be more on your docket. You become, with fiduciary, they've got a lot of leases, a lot of agreements that we become a party to, right? So your agendas are going to fill up, but I think there's room on your agendas. I don't think, maybe we back up that work session to 4:30 again, maybe potentially, but your agendas aren't overburdened right now. So I welcome this across the board for all departments. It's a win. It's a win-win.
Chairman knows that I'm pretty skeptical of a lot of things, and I tend to have to be shown over and over again exactly how this is going to benefit everybody. And I'm always looking for the other shoe, if you will. And in this case, I've found none. Working with Kristen and Ray, I've come away with nothing but positive considerations for what they're asking.
The services provided are important, and you can see the people sitting around the table here, they're all in agreement that change needs to be made, and it's to be a good change. So
Yeah, maybe it's a good time for me to jump in. So as you guys know, we took on 2 new counties last year, and so we functioned really now a full year with Osceola and Gladwin added to Isabella and Claire. So we actually work with 3 different Michigan Works organizations. Great Lakes Bay, Region 7B, which is Claire and Gladwin, and then Osceola's under Region 4 North. And, Katie and I have talked about this many times, including even this morning, that by far the best experience we've had has been working with Kristen and the Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And I'm just you heard this morning when we were at the board meeting, Jerry, that, we were doing our final report on the RTIG grant, which was, I call it the grant from hell. Federal grant that was from HUD, so it's housing money, Frankensteined into a job training program where, and we actually had Jody from Bandit talk about it, that the Bandit employees, that was for Industry 4.0, they were asked by the company to take the training. So this is not their own idea. The company told them to take training. And so they got to turn over their 1040, their W-2, and their driver's license photocopy so that HUD can prove that we had 51% below low to moderate income, because they're going to check the income. And believe me, that was like the most difficult task to get that done. And we ended up last April, we were at about 19% at low to moderate income. And I called Kristen and she came up with some ideas, and we were able to locate, with their help, some low to moderate income people and run them through some training that counted toward our numbers. And I'm going to say, without that help, I don't know that we could have made it to our goal. So, I don't say that lightly. So, that's partnership, and we talked a lot this morning in the board meeting about working with the CMURC, working with Liz at the Mount Pleasant Chamber and our other chambers, working with Central Michigan manufacturers and all of our partners, the SBDC, but Kristen's been a great partner to work with, and we know that, and we'll say that. So, that's when it really counts, when you step up and you help a partner get across the finish line with a project that they're working on. So, I can't say enough, and I would strongly support this move. I think they're already demonstrating that they are focused on Isabella County and making things right in Isabella County. One of the things that I know that this issue of the imposition that this has on their staffing levels. So one program I know fairly well is the Going Pro program. And that used to be just one round, right? Just a few years ago, it was one round per year. And now it's 3 rounds. And then there's the other program, what do you call it? Yes.
Industry like ILC, industry like
So
collaborative.
really there's 4 things that consume a ton of time. And, and because this is encroaching on their staffing, it sort of handicaps us a little bit with the current system. So I think this will enable Kristen to get the kind of people that she needs, some extra staff, so we can do even a better job. But they've been there for us, and they've been an excellent partner. So I can't recommend highly enough that this would be a good move for the county.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the chair.
Yeah, Jim, so thank you for sharing those words, and Commissioner Emery. Chairman, I would echo those thoughts. As the chairman of the Workforce Development Board, we have a duty and responsibility to make sure that we're being great stewards of the resources that are provided to Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. I can't speak highly enough about Kristen Ray and the team and the work that they do on the professionalism, their attention to detail, the work that they do for partners throughout the region. It just is so impactful. And for us to see that there's an opportunity for them to give them the resources that are needed to continue that great work in our region is exciting. And I think it is, endorsed not only by, our organization, and the tribe works well with Michigan Works. And, we are obviously the largest employer in Isabella and Aranet counties, a portion of that region, but they just do so much to help for those in need. So there's just so many examples we can talk about in the circles that we're in together. But we support the move because we understand their dedication and their due diligence to making sure that we're providing these resources to those in need in our communities.
I agree. I've been on the board about 17 years now, and it's always been, functioning well and doing well until numbers started to go up from Saginaw. And our meetings got a little not as friendly as they should be for a board meeting. So we sat through a lot of stuff, and I think the move would be good. Talking about the politics, we still need, it's not a win for Saginaw. So there's 13 on the board. I believe we need seven votes. And I don't know about Saginaw, they have 5 votes. So I'm hoping Isabella would be supportive. I think we had a couple votes there, and I know Jan Bunting, I know at least 1 Midland, 3 Bay counties. So I think we have the votes to get moved. I don't know if Sago's gonna fight it very much. I don't know if they're gonna dig in their heels on it or not.
That remains to be seen. It's a revenue loss for Saginaw County, and to us, it's a business decision. We would not be doing our jobs effectively if we did not make this request.
And on that note, Vaughn and myself had a chance to sit down with Commissioner Boyd and just talk about the history and how we got to this point and where we go. And we let him know it was clearly a business decision. It wasn't anything that we're trying to to hurt Saginaw County by any means, but we have to do this in the best interest of Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. And for them to understand that, that's where it comes from. It's not out of a place to rip that away from them or to cause, you know, an area of concern in their county, but to know that we have to have the support. You know, you're only helping one of the counties within this Great Lakes Bay region. All the other counties are shouldering that load, and that's not fair to them, to not have the resources available to them, to not have the programming available to them because of a decision made by one county as well. And I think if you look at shoe on the other foot, if it wasn't Saginaw County, it was a different county, they would be very much in the same position to be at this table to talk to us about the needing to move to a model that works well, as we move forward in the future.
So our request officially is to move for this body to consider our request for becoming our fiscal agent beginning October 1 of 2024. That is the mutual fiscal year date. It's easiest to make the change at that time, and it gives us time to make sure things are done correctly.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's any objections on the part of the committee members or administration. So
I did have one question, as far as the other counties that are involved, what's the process? Where do we go from here as far as action items are concerned?
If the full commission approved, then we take this show on the road to every county. So that they understand that this board vote is coming and that we request the support of those members that sit on the consortium board and workforce board to make that decision in support of the move.
Very good, okay.
And then we know it's a heavy load for both Kristen, Ray, and the team. So I know Vaughn and I have volunteered our time to make sure that we're assisting the staff. And I think as representatives of the board, we want to make sure that we understand the conversation. We've been a part of the conversation of the full board. It is supported by, it seems like, the majority there. So we want to make sure that we're being transparent, answering questions, and being upfront about the reasons behind that and why we're seeking the move in the first place.
When you guys go on the road show, you'd like for one of us, as far as Board of Commissioners, to come along, I'd gladly volunteer.
Thank you.
So
I think that would be extremely impactful if the committee can sign off on this, to have the voice of Isabella County saying they're willing to take this on. They're willing to enter into this move. That speaks volumes to know that we already have something ready to go and that is established. So
very good. Glad to do that.
You know, the interlocal agreements would never, those were, you know, redrawn, everyone, you know, had a proceed before, and then Kristen or Chris would come out to the board, talk about the interlocal agreement. Move on and then.
Yep.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So are all 5 of the members on the board from Saginaw?
We have,
Board of Commissioner members, or?
yes, they're all Board of Commissioner members, and the way the board that Vaughn chairs is the elected official board. We have a dual board made up of the elected officials whose primary responsibility is fiscal oversight, and the workforce board, which is strategic and performance and operational. And that is made up of employers, community leaders, economic development partners. Jim doesn't currently serve, but one of the 5 economic development entities sits on the board. Local nonprofits, what have you. We try to have a good cross section of what the business community is. So for the board that Vaughn chairs, which is all elected officials, 5 of the 13 members are from Saginaw County, based on how our interlocal agreement was developed.
Okay, well, I'm sure you've been talking about this, and then
We have.
all the counties know the impacts of the indirects of the counties being charged, so. Would you, unless there's further discussion, we'll take a motion. You'd like to put one on the floor?
I'd like to
Move
move
this to a work session.
that, I'd like to move that we take this presentation to our work session to approve the move for Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works fiduciary responsibility to Isabella County.
I will support that with a question now. So when we move this, we're just getting a voice approvable because we won't have a contract or anything.
Correct. There won't be any formal vehicle or document for you to consider on Tuesday. It'll just be conceptually, do we have your broad
Get a
blessing to
consensus of
go,
the
to go forward to formalize this? Something more formal will definitely come back to you once that vote
Occurs.
occurs, that to say, yes, the switch can happen.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second to take this over to the work session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all you get.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
I
patience.
can't make it next Tuesday. We have a board meeting next Tuesday, so I won't be able to make it.
Okay.
Chris will be there.
Yes, it is.
I'll be there, you know, and Rick. You know, my email.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Under the heading.
better have her correct that. Send her an email.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate being here. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Pretty good presentation. I'm pretty good back. Sorry. All right, yeah, Sangamon County.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get that wrapped up.
Yeah.
No.
And but I'll be there next week. Okay.
No, presentation,
It'll be. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You don't want to turn a deal like that down.
No.
Great.
No brainer.
Yeah, no brainer. Thanks, Sherry.
And I do want to apologize to you. I should have probably prefaced this with, we didn't want you to feel like we were ganging up on you. Because
All of a sudden, you're like,
I look around, I go,
about this.
I'm going, oh geez. I mean,
You're all familiar with the topic.
I was gonna say,
I'm in the learning curve.
the gang of nine.
But it's all good. It's all good.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a good surprise, a good, happy surprise for you.
We'll move on to our next item, which is consider approving the mediation services agreement between Isabella County on behalf of the Isabella County Trial Court and Resolution Services Center of Central Michigan for the period of October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Thank you for your patience, ladies. That was a great presentation, and as you can see, we've had a lot of work put into the presentation that was just given. So we're thrilled that you were actually there to hear it move forward. So another thing we're happy to take forward at the fiscal year 24 in the budget process, as we all know, Miss Lisa Bonney came forward with a wonderful presentation to the board requesting funds for the Resolution Services Center of Central Michigan and the work that they do to help out our trial court. They take small claims cases and landlord tenant issues out of our courts, and I think it makes our courts happy and frees up a lot of time for them.
Yep.
So right after October 1st, it comes time to appropriate monies, right, that the board has approved in the budget. And the county cannot simply send money to a nonprofit, right? As if we could, you can imagine a line of nonprofits that would be out the door, right? So we have to have a formal agreement in place in order to give nonprofits money. Resolution Services Center of Central Michigan is a nonprofit, and Attorney Perone has developed the agreement that's attached in your staff report for the Resolution Services Center Mediation Services Agreement. The board approved an amount of $15,000 in FY 24. Generally, Lisa, I don't know if we've talked about this, but generally contributions like that in the budget are sent out quarterly. But as soon as we get this agreement approved, if the board should so choose, then we'll get that first quarter contribution out to you for sure. The language has been approved, if you will, agreed to by the courts. You see Trial Court Administrator Carrie Curtis has joined us. Chief Judge James is a party to this agreement. And so obviously, you know, we did have to work with the courts on the language. I think the version you have in front of you has, thank you, Lisa, for catching a typo of medication services to mediation services. So we certainly don't want you to medicate the folks that are sent your way. So eagle eye, Lisa, thank you for catching that. And then also we were going to add into the first page, the landlord tenant stuff, because right now we just have small claims information, and the courts is okay with that. So I've sent it on to Attorney Perone, and he's going to make those changes. So we'll have an updated document for the agenda on Tuesday. Ladies, now I just have talked and talked. Is there anything you would like to add or contribute to the conversation?
Again, good morning. I really just want to say how much we really appreciate this consideration of this. We have such a long-term partnership working with your court up there. It's a joy to work with Carrie and Judge James. This is work that we're passionate about and really see the benefit of it from the citizens who are able to do their small claims and landlord tenant cases in this way. And again, I just really appreciate being able to move this proposal to the next level. And it really is quite instrumental for us to be able to continue our services. Because again, we're here to support the courts, and the citizens of Michigan have access to justice.
So what other sources of funding you have? Obviously, $15,000 is not much to support that type of service.
Correct. So we have a conglomeration of funding. We do some contract work for our in-school conflict resolution, but in the mediation side, we write grants. We have some funding from some other counties that we do services in on a similar level as our proposal to Isabella County. We get a small allocation from SCAO, the State Courts Administrative Office, and then also two, not for these small claims and landlord cases, because we do those at no charge to the parties. But we do mediations where people will call us, like for divorce or civil contracts, and for that we charge a per fee basis. We do that on a sliding fee scale. So again, we're making it cost effective for the citizens who come to us.
Okay. I guess comments from Administrator Curtis on how this is working for you.
It works extremely well. We've been doing this with the Resolution Center for probably 8-9 years, I would think. If I recall correctly, it works very well. The people that are best served really are our litigants, the community. They're getting some services, you know, to try to resolve the conflict without having to necessarily see the judge. So that is always beneficial. It's less of a stressful type of environment, I think, for people. So our relationship with the Resolution Center has really been fantastic.
Sorry, Carrie, we had a technical glitch. We kind of missed half of
Most
what
of
you
your-
said.
In summary, I just said that our relationship with the Resolution Center has been outstanding. We all work very well together, and really the citizens of our county are the ones that are getting the outstanding service. And they're being able to, you know, resolve their conflicts without necessarily seeing the judge, so.
Very good. So it's working out well for everyone involved. Very good.
So where's the Resolution Center office located? Or
So-
where do you go to meet?
So our on-site office is in Ingham County. We're kind of in the greater Lansing area. But a lot of our services, we provide services to 6 counties. Ingham, Eaton, Clinton, Isabella, Gratiot, and Shiawassee counties. So a lot of that is we do a lot of outreach to those communities. With the movement of most mediations going to Zoom, it's really made our services so much more accessible to the citizens.
So if you have some people that are pressing small claims and they're not computer literate or they don't have the equipment, they would need to travel then to Ingham County to press their case?
So currently, if they don't have computer access, they can also call in through a phone line. So again, we offer different options. They can do Zoom like we are doing now. They can call in and be part of that mediation. If they want to come to their office, they are more than willing to do that. One of the things that we started kind of working on before COVID, but that kind of took a big back seat. But we've kind of brought that to the forefront where we're looking at doing some additional services inside Isabella County that will more than likely require that we have more of a physical presence in the county. But all that right now is up in the air and in process. And those are just things I can say that we try to make access to the mediation whichever way the client wants it and as easy as possible. We had, just for the record, before COVID, had people come up to the courthouse and actually do those mediations in person there. So it is not outside our business model to actually have people drive to the county to be able to make sure we are providing services to the citizens in the court.
All right, thank you.
Very good.
The court also has the ability for people to use our facility. We set them up with a laptop or the iPad or whatever if they don't have access to the internet, so that they can participate in those proceedings electronically with the Resolution Center. So we try to make sure everyone has access, whether we provide it or they already have it on their own.
Well, I can see how this would be a very good service for the courts to reduce the amount of staffing that you have to put directly involved. I don't know what percentage of cases get resolved through mediation. Must be quite a large percentage, but I can see the value to the court system.
And the litigants.
So go ahead, Carrie.
Well, it wasn't me.
Oh, I was just going to say, because when I came up and presented to the commissioners in June, our numbers for 2022, we did over 1,100 small claim and landlord tenant cases. And it was about 85% of those cases were either mediated and had an agreement or made enough progress that they were not returned back to the judge for further service. So we're somewhere between, the 80 part of making sure those cases get resolved and not back on the judge's docket.
Fantastic. Wow.
So certainly a huge benefit, and this is a unique situation because to this end, these services have been performed without a contribution from the board, right? So it was discussed among the drafting of this agreement, but among all parties, and we all understand and know it's an annual appropriation of the board, right? This doesn't set a precedent that now we are going to fund in this amount going forward. It's an annual decision of the Board of Commissioners, right?
I like it.
And language as such is in that agreement. So I just want to point that out. It was
That's my next
you know, that was, you know, somewhat concerning as we wrangle with the county budget, right? So we.
You read
just
the back of my
wanted to
mind.
address
That saved me a question.
that.
Any other questions or comments?
None for me, but thank you very much.
So I will make a motion to send the fiscal year 2023 audit engagement letter with, excuse me, the approving the mediation services agreement between Isabella County on behalf of the county trial court and resolution services of Central Michigan for the period of October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024 to the work session next Tuesday.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy
Enjoy your
holidays.
day.
I gotta make sure I don't jump ahead, right?
Well, our auditor Doug Dieter is on the Zoom and he was probably pretty excited to hear that item come up and get moved, but he was probably, what have I been waiting for too? So
So just a
thank you for your patience.
final question on that last one.
Yes, sir.
Will the legal counsel have the corrected agreement ready
Tuesday.
for Tuesday?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, moving on then to our next item is consider approving the fiscal year 2023 audit engagement letter with Raymond and associated change order in the amount of 5,500 and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
So,
So the state changed the rules, huh?
yes, yes. If you remember, I think it was in 2021, maybe 2020, that the county entered, I think it's attached for you, a 5-year extension of our audit contract with Raymond. And it went through, I feel like fiscal 24. So we've got a little bit more on the contract, but years ago, when Raymond responded with that letter to extend the audit agreement, these standards weren't in place. They weren't in effect. And I'll let Doug, our auditor, talk about what these standards are and the extra workload that it caused, but it certainly did cause workload on our end too. If you remember the software debt book software that we engaged with that was for one of these governmental accounting standard board standards. So anyway, this extra workload has led to the need to increase the annual audit amount from what it was anticipated years ago. So Doug Dieter from Raymond is on the Zoom and has joined us, and thank you for waiting so patiently through those other items, Doug, but I hope that you found them interesting and you see what's going on here in the county.
Good morning. I did find him interested, and I'd be interested to hear more about the plan for Michigan Works. So we can talk about that another time, Nicole, if you don't mind, but
Not at all,
yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff going on in the county,
as always.
along with not being able to use your county building, right?
Yes. Yes, I think there's a few that have joined us in the audience here just to get out of their overcrowded offices, maybe.
It's pretty bad if you want to spend time with us, you know, versus where you are. Well, I'm sorry about
Laugh
those
or
work
cry,
conditions.
I guess.
Not here or there. Or anywhere.
So again, thank you for your patience, Doug.
So I guess I can just recap what Nicole has said. You know, there's 2 new standards. One became effective for the county in their last fiscal year, which was GASB 87. We performed the work on that, the additional audit work on that. And now this year, there's an additional standard, GASB 96. So last year was related to leases and changed how the county has to account for the leases from a financial reporting perspective. The new one this year, GASB 96, is related to subscription-based information technology arrangements. Same type of standard to leases, just changes the way the county has to identify and report these arrangements that they've entered into. So what we've found is that both of these standards are creating a significant amount of extra time on our part. And therefore, you know, we're looking to be reasonable and, you know, have these discussions with our clients to say, it's taken us more time than what we originally planned 3 years ago when we issued or provided that extension to our contract. And that we would, appreciate the county considering the change order for us to compensate for the additional work that is required under these new standards. And, we didn't, just a side note, we didn't charge the county any extra last year for that standard. We held to the contracted amount that was in our proposal for those was it 4 years? I can't remember now, the 5 years. But as we found at other clients and as we found at Isabella is, we just can't continue to eat those extra hours that it's taken to implement those standards. And, there's an additional cost going forward as well, because, these standards aren't going away. So we're going to perform these procedures each year going forward in order to comply with the GASB. So any questions on that?
Makes sense.
And because the board approved the audit extension, the board would need to approve that change order. Right?
Correct.
And always in the past, the administrative controllers always signed the engagement letter, but as I had sent this information to Attorney Perrone to look at, he said the board should be considering, should be approving that engagement letter too. So we're going to change our process going forward. Doug, I would ask that you change the signatory on the two documents, the engagement letter and the change order, to our chairman, Tobin D, as in Dennis Hope. Because that is who will be executing them. They keep coming to me through DocuSign, which is fine, but either we need to send them to chairman's email with his name, or you can still send it to my email with his name and he can execute them that way through DocuSign after the board approves next Tuesday.
Yeah, that's fine, Nicole, but I will also need your signature from the management administration perspective. That need to make sure that you have read that, because the engagement letter includes a lot of management responsibilities. So we want to make sure that you have read those, understand those, and sign off as well as the board chair. So
Great.
we can send it back through DocuSign to both your emails, and you can both sign it at that point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good solution.
Would you like to make the motion?
Sure can. I move to consider approving the fiscal year 2023 audit engagement letter with Ryman and associated change order in the amount of $5,500 to our work session next Tuesday.
I'll support that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward to Tuesday's discussion. Thank you.
I did want to let you know too, Doug let me know that next Tuesday night, he does have another board meeting to attend. So it is in conflict with our 5:30 work session. So
I think we can go.
I think we've got this. So if there's any questions for him, let us know before 5:30 Tuesday.
Or if there's any questions I can help address, after the meeting as well, I'm happy to do that.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
There is
All
one.
right, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Happy
You
holidays.
too.
Bye.
All right. The next item, discussion regarding Isabella County Sheriff's and Correctional Facility Project funding. I guess I don't really have a whole lot other than I did like that chart.
Isn't that nice?
Kind of
Yeah,
shows
that
where
was
we're
very
at as we
enlightening.
move up visually.
Mr. Ferber taught me that trick, probably one of the first meetings I had with him. And it's just a great tool, right? You just take what the project costs over time, how much time you have. You show, your line graph of if you were perfect on time every time, you'd get there like this. And then you show what we're spending each month. And it's a great visual. Are we on track? Are we falling behind? I mean, just as
Are we
soon as you
over?
look,
I like that
Yeah.
because it tells you what you're spending every month, and then the cumulative, if it's above that linear line, I mean, it tells you we've got some issues that we need to address.
Mhm.
And we need to dig into it a little deeper.
Yeah, I can't say enough about our wonderful volunteer we have in Mr. Ferber and his eye on the project. It just causes, it's a lot of comfort for me because I'm not trained in construction. I don't know how to read those documents. He knows what he's seeing, so. And thank you to Clark Construction. You may or may not know that Mr. Ferber had somewhat of a little office in the county building where he would come and look at the project plans whenever he could. And now with the county building closure, he's not been able to do that. So Clark Construction has offered him a spot at their job trailer, and we'll be taking the plans out there so that
Terrific.
anytime they're on site, he can go there and
And
do the
ask
plans.
questions directly.
And yeah, I
Ooh,
think
I like
it's
that.
fantastic. Yes.
I know we did have a conversation by email regarding the OAC meetings. Where are we at with this
So it looks
OAC meeting
like,
process?
so I want to verify on Thursday, we've been meeting essentially twice a month on the owner architect contractor meetings. And I like the cadence. And there was something that came through that suggested maybe we were only going to move to once a month going forward. I want to verify that with Heidi at the
Yeah,
Thursday
please.
meeting because I didn't take that from what was sent out. I think what might be happening is we meet on, say, the second Thursday and the fourth Thursday. Well, you need 2 calendar invites to accomplish that. Does that mean anything to you? You look like I just talked right through you.
No, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
In order to get it on the calendar for the second and fourth Thursdays, you would need to do 1 calendar invite for all the second Thursdays, and you'd need to do
Yep.
another calendar for all the second or all the fourth Thursdays. So I'm wondering if maybe one of those invites is out there for just 1 Thursday of the month, and it got
Lost.
miscommunicated that there's actually.
He's gotta clarify.
That's why I want to wait till Thursday to clarify, because I'm certainly an advocate of twice a month.
And,
$48 million project,
Yeah.
you don't phone it in.
no, that's it. I want to be there every
Yes.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've been struggling with it. I see that and I'm thinking, this doesn't sound like
Doesn't sound
usual.
right,
And I
does it?
thought, well, maybe it's the holiday schedule or something interrupting,
I think
The
something
flow.
doesn't sound right, so.
Okay, you'll follow up on that and then
Yep,
get back.
on Thursday.
Very good.
Yeah, and thank you to Mr. Ferber again for the communication about his concerns and.
Thank you, Mr. Ferber.
Mhm.
well, this is a discussion item, so we'll just have it at the meeting. Couple brief words on it.
I think I'll address the meeting today with the contractors. I'll just kind of give everybody an update on what was discussed and if there anything needs to be brought forward, I'll bring it forward then.
Perfect.
Okay.
Number 8, discussion regarding Isabella County Administration building asbestos removal, cleaning and rebuilding expenses. So I took my wife, she had a physical therapy and I said, let's go take a look at this, riverbed property. So we drove in. I didn't see a lot of activity there, so when is the lease starting and when do you anticipate making some of the moves?
Sure. So the lease is officially from December 1st to November 30th of 2024. We had a couple week of rent abatement period where they recognized we would be, getting the network ready, right?
Yeah.
That you don't move computers over there until we can get the network wired in, type of thing. Originally, the abatement contractor, Quality Environmental Services, wanted to start yesterday, if you remember their original schedule. And a lot of it due to the holiday week last week, we didn't get access to the new property until last Tuesday. And we did move Tuesday and, some things Tuesday and Wednesday. We're moving things to storage units, but with the Thanksgiving holiday, it really put a pause on the move last week. So we were back at it, hit it hard yesterday, and we'll be continuing to move things throughout the week. I've been in contact with Quality Environmental Services and Northern Analytical, who does the testing, and both agree there's no issues with pushing it out another week. So we are actually kicking off with the abatement contractor tomorrow at 1:30. And they're gonna start to just bring in some equipment and stage with no intentions of starting until we're ready. But I do think we'll be mostly moved out next week. So those things are being moved to the Riverbend property and staged in garages and then moved into offices. So
Okay,
it'll
so
be a couple week process.
the building that we're leasing is the one probably has kind of bluish gray window, tinted windows.
It's
Right out by the
closest
road?
to, yes, it's closest to
And-
Pickard, and then there's a really much larger building behind it. To the north,
Okay,
the scientific building, I think it's called.
so it's not the scientific building itself, right?
Correct, correct.
It's
It is
some
not.
garages.
It's in front of that. It's an office building, but there's two
Okay.
garages at the office building. On
Okay.
the lower level, and then to the west is, the address is 614 West Pickard, is the 9,000 square foot warehouse with a little bit of office space up front. Yes, underway.
Did we want to discuss, Director Shoemaker's email regarding the abatement?
We certainly can,
Process.
yeah, I think we should.
Is
You
it
know,
something
we're
we want
working-
to bring that up at our board meeting to
Sure,
Maybe-
that'll be the next step.
maybe have him talk about that, if he's able to be there?
Could you repeat that again?
Oh, Director Shoemaker had
Oh, okay.
put forth an email regarding the process of abatement.
Mhm.
He had his thoughts on that. I'd like to hear more about that, and maybe the rest of the board should have some kind of feedback and interaction with him regarding that.
I thought they were, well presented thoughts.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
good
very,
points.
very timely.
So,
And him and I will be working to draft that RFB for the architect, so if we'll get a draft out, hopefully by end of day Friday, get a draft out to the board so that we can then get your comments on it. We really need to get that released. But if you, I think everyone should see it before it gets released. I think there's
Please,
gonna be
yeah.
some comments.
Yeah.
We've had some great discussion already about not throwing everything into the architect's basket, right? We don't need to hire an architect for painting. We're gonna be smart about this stuff. But there's certainly things we need an architect for, and we need to define that scope of work for the RFB. Moving Forward. We are gonna, a number of us are gonna walk the building with Chairman Hope as he had requested tomorrow. Later in the day, Director Schumacher, myself, Melissa, Community Development Inspections Director, Timothy Port, and Mark Griffiths.
Yep.
And Chairman Hope will be walking the building just to kind of analyze what are those things we need to make sure are in the RFB? What are the things we need to make sure we do before we get back in, or do why we have? Shoemaker's email mentioned some of the plumbing, right? The brittle pipes
Yeah.
that we actually had last year. A
Mhm.
sewage pipe burst above an employee's desk with sewage on employee's desk. So the plumbing pipes are to the point, at end of life, needing replaced. Why wouldn't you do it right now?
Mhm.
Right, things like that,
Things
we
that
just
can be
wanna be
fixed now.
smart about it.
and look at what's there, what should be fixed now, because otherwise you're gonna take it all apart again. And
Things you would do with your own money.
There you go.
That's what we wanna
I
do.
like that part of it. I mean, I realize there may be some additional expense, but I better get it done now. Pay me now, pay me later.
Yes, sir. So we'll have quite an update come Tuesday then.
Good,
Okay.
very good.
Move on to our next item then. It's invoice list discussion. This one?
Should be a.
Oh, wait, there's a second one.
It's just really small.
Okay.
Well, not in terms of dollars, but in terms of
Right.
pages, yes. My. Okay. Ooh, that's right. Chairman, I have a question. This is outside of, well, it is kind of related to this. Do we need to have as a discussion topic, the wage study ongoing?
Well, right now, we're still sending them the initial information that they requested, so not much to report yet. I know the RFP requires, and Amy Sell's proposal stated
Yes.
they would give progress reports to us at 30, 60, 90%, and then of course 100%
go.
as well. So I think those are the logical times
Right.
to bring it forward rather than.
Would that be here at
Yeah.
Finance Administration or a regular board meeting to keep them abreast too?
Yes, I think it would be both. Yeah,
Agreed.
because if you
Okay.
guys have any questions, you would vet them at committee, and if you wanted to dive deeper, they would do a deeper dive for the full board the following, would be my thought.
You, don't you thinking two would be good?
That'd be good.
Because we think open and transparent, and I think it's important to the folks who work with us here at Isabella County, they know that we're vested in this process.
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Okay.
Do you have any questions on any of the larger bills?
Not at this point. No, I did not.
Let's see, we paid off Johnson Control for the study.
Yes, sir. But we didn't spend $9 million on
Right.
things we didn't need.
I keep seeing those tax tribunal, I just like, oh, so painful every time you see those.
Well, I know the information that we got from Johnson Control is good. You may not find any more federal grants like during Obama's administration, but the study that Clinton County did certainly brought in a couple of large grants to make improvements. So-
But look what we uncovered, right? And
Yep.
And even though this is a huge expense, obviously it's the best thing for our employees and the public to address.
Sometimes bad things have turned into good things.
Everything happens for a reason.
There you go, ma'am.
Nothing?
I've got nothing, sir. They all seem pretty straightforward. Anything?
Well, then we'll move to announcements. So you did have a chance to meet with our legal counsel on the millage language.
Yes,
And that's something that's gonna be sent out to us.
Yes, very soon.
Okay.
Mhm.
So kind of come to a consensus.
Among those that met, yes, although I think we need to circle it out to the group so that there's some consensus among them
Some
before
agreement.
it goes forward to the board on Monday. Or,
Okay, because moving forward, we all got to be on the same page.
yes, that's very important. 6-1 is gonna send a wrong message, so it has to be everybody in agreement. and
So I don't-
understanding.
You don't want me to be the stick in the mud, huh?
No, she's not looking at you. She's looking at me. You notice that?
You'll be expecting a phone call, I'm sure,
All right,
or two.
do any other announcements?
I have none. No,
We'll
sir.
do a call to the public. Karen, you always have something to
Come on,
say.
Karen. Okay, my
You'd
days,
be disappointed if you didn't come.
my meeting days are not complete if.
Without a handshake and
Right, well, no, without a handshake. Without
So the
Karen.
only thing I was gonna say was, now that we're all looking at new ways to use the building that we already have, and we're looking to collaborate with a possible collaboration with Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works. I think we need to start looking at our biggest resource and best resource, which is our employees, and looking at them in a whole new way. Especially before we start the process of our wage classification study. I think in some ways, the way we've been doing the wage classification study kind of pigeonholes people into little slots, and that's not who our people are. I mean, we have people that have, if you look at the people that have risen above the problems that we've had, that have worked to collaborate and try to, I mean, the things that Melissa and Nicole have done, Kathleen, the things that, you know, a lot of the people have done. Brian, although he says he's not a good fit, he is awesome. He's done
Well done.
great things. I think that we have to try to find a better way of compensating our people. And if we have someone, if we have a job, why are we farming some of this stuff out? If we have something that an individual in our association, group, whatever you want to call us, if they have the aptitude and the drive to be able to do that job, let's train them to do it. Because who's going to stay here? that individual that's already here, that's already been that lowly paid employee who's dedicated a lot of their time to us.
I paid very well for people who were motivated, incentivized to become cross-trained, to be able to handle multiple opportunities within the
Correct.
operation. So that's kind of what you're saying here, correct?
Yes, I think we need to look at, instead of saying that an employee does this is all that employee, I think in some ways, when we do that, we're saying that's all that employee is capable of.
Mhm.
But it's not. But I think we have to look at what can that employee do for the whole organization instead of just for our office. You know, it's like we had an employee who started with us when she was still in school, and hey, it sucked that admin took her away from us. But we certainly would never begrudge that, because that was that employee learning a new skill. That employee flourished in that spot, went someplace else eventually, but I think we have to look at what are that employee skills, and where could that employee skills, if maybe they're not reaching their potential where they're at, where could that employee's skills best serve the organization as a whole instead of just our office.
I like it. Thank you.
It really comes a part of HR and administration to know the capabilities of the staff and see if there's a better fit. That might be
And everybody
better for the
working
county,
together.
better for the employee.
Yeah, I think everybody working together, but most of the, like, whenever we've had wage classification studies, they don't care about you. All they want to know is, what do you do in your job today? What is your job today? Well, that doesn't tell you anything about what could this person do if given the right circumstances or the potential.
So that, towards that end, I'm used to this, like, the idea of having that base study done. He's saying, what is this particular job's responsibilities? That's what you do get paid for. Now, beyond that, it's up to the department heads, administration, to look at each individual and assess their potential. And then decide, hey, do we have other opportunities within the administration building for this particular person to either add additional responsibilities or move into another position for increasing their scope of capacity. But that's, to me, that falls back outside of the wage study. That, to me, that falls onto, in my opinion, the department heads and administration to evaluate those folks and figure out where they could best provide increased capabilities to the county and to the individual, because I think it goes hand in hand. I mean, like I said, if you're willing to be cross-trained and be able to cover other positions and you're willing to do that, to me, that's valuable. There's value in that.
Correct. And I think the other thing is there's nothing wrong with that person, because we still need those people with that person that they don't want to do anything else. They don't want to learn anything else.
Right.
They just want to sit in front of the computer and do this one job. There's nothing wrong with that person,
No.
because we do need those people. And those people are great. But I think you have to reward that those people that are willing to do those additional things and pitch in and do what has to be done. Those are the people that are going to grow in our organization.
I think our upcoming exercise in downsizing will help us identify those ways we can work together. I mean, we're gonna be on top of each other, so shame on us if those don't bubble to the top where we
Right,
can.
and we're going
really
to have to help each other out. I think if there's somebody in my office that, you know, that you feel has a skill that would help, ask. You know, it's like for anyone, you know.
Yeah.
Give them create opportunity. I'm all up for that. Thank you, man.
Before calling adjournment, I just want to share a story with you, as Parks and Recreation used to be in the room down in the lower level where IT is. And at one time, it was myself, my secretary, and an intern in there. And
Parks and
my
Recreation.
desk and my secretary's desk nose to nose. It really creeped her out. Sandra Manley, I don't know if you remember Sandra, but she was really creeped out. Well, one day I was leaning back in my chair and I went over too far and I go like this. I hit the wall and it straightened me out again. That was how crowded it was in that office. I got to know my staff really well.
I was gonna say, interpersonal skills.
With that, we'll call adjournment.
Very good. Thank you, sir.